All right, good afternoon. It is Friday, and we have something pretty, in fact, I've literally, just as I've started talking, I've started to get goosebumps. We have an amazing human being by the name of Genevieve Delarue. She is an Australian that actually lives in Kenya, but unfortunately, due to COVID, she has been stuck in Sydney. I say stuck in Sydney, but she's in Sydney. She's come back to get some of her belongings, and then COVID hit, and unfortunately she's been unable to go back to an amazing charitable charity that she started, which is called the GBV Charitable Trust. Now, so everybody starts, charities, and people are doing like philanthropic things, but the most unique thing about what Genevieve has done, she's taking care of children and babies 0 to 12 who have been raped, and basically works with the survivors of child rape. And I can't even begin to imagine the things that you see and that you go through on a daily basis. Genevieve, thank you so much for joining us today.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, look, I'm literally head to toe covered in goosebumps. So there's been a lot of talk at the moment. There's a lot of talk about human trafficking, because obviously it's a new hot thing to talk about. But there's people like yourself, and I think you would have seen that we've interviewed Adam Whittington as well, that these people have been doing this thing for years. And it's great that we've just started to get the attention. What's that like?
Look, it's always been a catch-22. It's really fucking difficult to be in, first and foremost. But the biggest struggles I've had has been getting people to look at the topic and look at what I do, and getting people to acknowledge it. I've copped an incredible amount of flack on social media. I've been told, that I deserve to be raped and I'm fucking lying, and babies don't get raped, and all sorts of shit. Like, it's just gone on and on and on. But I think there's a huge difference I've noticed between when I moved to Kenya and coming back now. The conversation is so much more prominent than it used to be. Like, I've even noticed the advocacy of particularly my generation, and probably the generation just above me, the amount of conversations now being had around child rape and infant rape and sex trafficking is tenfold what it used to be. Before, people wouldn't even look at the conversation at all. And now I've noticed, I can see on my feed people who donate and who follow me and who I'm friends with. I see there's a lot more content being shared on the topic, which is amazing. It still really pisses me off that this isn't being looked at properly by any legal systems, by law enforcement, judicial systems. Don't even fucking get me started. But
no, I want to get you started. It's so important.
Sorry, I'm playing with my tripod. I do that when I get angry. So look, it's a catch-22. Like, it's very frustrating. And it still will be for a very long time, because there's always going to be people who don't want to look at this, and the people who don't want to address it are normally pedophiles and abusers and enablers. Especially the enablers, the ones who enable it and know this is going on. They are the absolute first to stand up and not want to talk about this at all. Well, for good reason, because they're a bunch of cunts. But
God, I think you and I
never say that word, but since I've come back to Australia, I've had to embrace it. It's been 33 years I've never said it, and there you go.
I love that word.
The C-bomb used to mean chicken for my dog, but I'm dogless at the moment because she's in Kenya.
Oh, my God, I love it. No, I love it. Thank you for being just being you. It's nice and it's refreshing. Look, I feel the same way as you. Like, you hear people talking about it, and one of the biggest things is that people are so, you say child sex abuse, it's like people shut down. They clamp down and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to.
Why they shut down? They shut down because it's probably happened to them. Now, I don't care about the United Nations and most of those huge organizations. I think they're a bunch of fucking criminals. They're not operating like charities, and they're not helping anybody at all. But first and foremost, the statistics they put out are absolute bullshit. I can tell you right now that out of all of the donors that I've met since I moved to Kenya who've come on board, I can tell you right now, hand on my heart, that 90% of them have been raped. 90%. The amount of disclosures I've had on Facebook through private message over the last nearly 7 years is astronomical. And I'm telling you right now, people aren't talking about this because they either were or they know somebody who was. and it's hush hush, got to shut up about it. And I don't think, I was having this conversation yesterday, I was presenting, and I don't think people are silent on this topic anymore because of shame. I think the shame was something that's very old school. I think that was maybe a generation or two ago, particularly when women couldn't get divorced easily and couldn't have abortion and access to contraception. I think it's different. I think now why people aren't talking about this topic is because the lack of accountability in the justice system. And there's no point. It's almost like there's no point even having the conversation, because why the fuck bother? No, nothing's going to happen. I mean, I watch it countlessly all the time. My newsfeed is flooded with these piss-weak fucking sentences. These judges must be pedophiles, because there's no reason why you'd let a baby rapist off. That 5-year-old girl that was raped in the shopping mall and the guys had to bash the doors down of the cubicle, that judge let that guy off. He let him out. And then 2 days later, he goes and rapes that 5-year-old girl in the shopping center. He went back in front of the same judge. And it took that to happen for that fucking magistrate to lock that bastard up. There's no accountability. So I don't think people are avoiding the conversation due to shame. I think with time and with the prevalence of the issue, and I think with more people talking about it, I don't think that's as big a reason anymore. I think the real reason why people don't talk is because there's no reason to. For what? What's going to happen? Well, sweet fuck all is going to happen, and that's what's got to change.
Look, and you know what? And I'm actually very excited. I think for the first time in a long time, this has been a passion space of mine for a very long time, and it's been difficult for me as a business owner and just somebody that's out like in society to even have that conversation. It's something. It's very spiky, and people kind of like just shut down. They don't want to talk about it, mainly because I think that they're just not comfortable. And I'm so pumped that we can sit right now in this day and age and have this conversation and talk about it so openly, because there's people like you, like Adam, like us, that are willing to have that conversation and willing to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And see, that's the difference. 6.5 years ago when I started this, fucking no one would have this conversation with me. Absolutely no one. It was not even on social media. So the energy around it is there, and I do think I'm in a generation that won't put up with bullshit. We will not put up with homophobia. We will not put up with racism and child sexual abuse. This is another thing. So look, it's really good and it's really comforting seeing that, but there's never going to be enough advocacy for it. I mean, this is the biggest problem in the world. This is far bigger than world hunger. This is far bigger than any disease, any virus. This is the real problem.
Yeah, and I actually 100% agree with you. The rest of the other shit is just distraction for me. Yeah. So, like, how did you get into it, Genevieve? Like, what set you on this path? I mean, did you have what made you do this? Awful childhood. I started working just before my 12th birthday to get out of home, and I've been supporting myself since then. So I still had things in my parents' house when I was 12 and 13, but I was never there. I was always on friends' couches, sleeping in tents, sleeping in stable blocks, doing whatever I could to stay out of there. And I was fine when I was in high school. I was really sporty. I always had my dressage horses, so the horses really grounded me and my animals. And I knew when shit was hitting the fan at home that I needed to get a job and keep the horses in my life, and I needed them for a lot of reasons. So they saved me, my horses and my dogs. And I was absolutely fine. And then later on, when I grew up and realized what life should look like and what my childhood looked like and what it should have looked like compared to how it did, I lost it. I developed a severe eating disorder because I couldn't handle the trauma and nearly died. I had 2 heart attacks at 23. I was 33 or 34 kilos at my worst. I'm 5'8", and ended up getting over that. And then next thing I know, I'm volunteering madly and raising all of this money for all of these charities to help victims of sexual abuse. And I thought, well, fuck it. Nobody was there for me. And, I wouldn't have had such a severe eating disorder. My life would have been really different if I had somebody supporting me that would listen as well. Do you know what? Every time I speak to somebody, and it always comes from a personal experience, and I think the last time I spoke to somebody about this and interviewed somebody, it's just always a common theme. It's something that you've experienced, and I'm picking up that for you know what that feels like, and you don't want it's horrible. So you don't want other people to go through that. And usually, I mean, it's people like you, because people sit at home all day, right? And they're like, but the problem's so big, what can we do? Well, if you're out there and you're watching, this is what you do. Genevieve is what you do. You get off your butt and you do something, and you create, you move anything towards bringing awareness to sex issues with children. It's all okay. Every minute, every second, every conversation, it all counts.
Yeah, it sure does. And the more the conversation's had, the less tolerance there's going to be for it. It's honestly, I swear, hand on heart, that is the way to end this, because we can't leave it up to the judges and we can't leave it up to a lot of people in the world, but raising the conversation and addressing it is the way to do it. And that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to be there for somebody else. And then next thing I know, I'd raised about $200,000 for a couple of charities in Sydney, and I kept going back, and I was watching the same drug addict, sexually abused girl who was pregnant, shooting up fucking heroin, not getting any help, and they've just hired more staff and built more buildings, and they weren't helping anyone. I said, well, fuck, I've, done all this work to raise all of this money, and you're not helping anyone. This is criminal. So then I decided I wanted to study medicine. I was in the corporate world, and I wanted to also donate to people who needed it. And I thought, well, okay, where can I go where I can get some experience in a hospital? So I thought Africa, and went to Kenya. Landed in Kenya, and it was my 4th day on the continent, and I was hand-holding a gang-raped 9-year-old through her C-section. She was 8 months pregnant and 27 kilos. And that was it. I opened the charity the next day. That was the 2nd of January, 2015.
Ah, man, sorry. I've got a 10-year-old. I just can't even, I've got a 10-year-old daughter, and I just...
9.
Yeah.
Was 9, and I stayed at that hospital, Buraburu Mission Hospital in Nairobi, and they had a secret ward up above the surgical theatre, and it was for raped pregnant children. And I just did C-section after C-section after C-section for 6 weeks. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds.
Wow. Wow. You are, I said this off camera, but these are what, in my book, you're a hero. And I know that mostly I say things like that to Adam, and a lot of, Adam will go, no, but you are, because you're out there and you're doing things that nobody else can do. And it's lovely because people donate, and I'm going to put it up on the screen anyway so that people can actually see it and actually go to and donate to people like you, because the conversations I've had, Genevieve, where people say, I just want to help, and they don't know how to. And it's okay that you don't know how to, because some people can't. Yeah. And I get that. They can't put their head in it, and they actually can't go down.
I get it too. Absolutely. Fuck, I've been in this situation for many years of my life where I didn't even have enough money to survive. Yeah. So that's not the problem, but and it's not an issue, and that's totally understandable. But the way to help is, first and foremost, have the conversation, advocate. If you see something, say something.
Yeah.
If there's something wrong with a kid at school, children shouldn't be oddly quiet sitting in a classroom, looking like they're about to burst into tears. Watch out for the kids at school. Watch out for the kids that your kids hang out with for behavioral issues and stuff. There's little triggers. Watch, that you can see kids that live in fucking fear because they're in this constant fight or flight. Constantly. I had such a high anxiety as a child because I was in this constant survival mode. Constant. Yeah. I used to come home, my father used to come home. I never knew if I was going to fucking survive the night. Didn't know if my mother was either. And he was a barrister, a criminal barrister. So this is not a third world problem. This has got nothing to do with income, socioeconomic status, career, education. This is absolutely fucking rife.
It's everywhere.
All parts of society.
And there's comments that are coming along the side here. Look, and we've got a comment for our people in Obsessive. They're awesome. They all get in and have conversations and whatever have you. And it says men are fucking animals. And I'm like, it's not just men. It's not just men, it's women too. And it's all types of different.
No. Because you know what? It's women who are running these trafficking rings. Every single person I've had a problem with in Kenya is a woman, and it's women selling and buying children. It's the women. The men, okay, they buy a kid, but they're offered something, they're not, it's not the men going out and doing this. Last week I had 2 weeks ago, I had a 2-day-old, a newborn, sold by the mother in the slums of Kenya, purchased by a woman to cross the Tanzania border, be sacrificed to a witchcraft tribe in Tanzania. 2-day-old. And the whole thing is women. It is the women. It's the in Kenya that run the illegal children's home and abuse the kids. It's the women. It is the women.
Genevieve, this is the shit that people just can't believe. Like they hear, okay, child sex abuse, they hear pedophilia, but when you say things like, I'm again covered in goosebumps, like you say things like child sacrifice and like for a witchcraft, this is the shit that people don't want to believe, Genevieve. This is the stuff that they think is just too far-fetched and it doesn't happen, but it happens.
I know. You know how many babies I've rescued from sacrifice? Fucking heaps. But I've never spoken about it until this year because I used to cop shit just from saying that a 2-year-old had been raped. Can you imagine if I told you that a 2-day-old had been sold to be skinned alive in a sadistic ritual? You wouldn't believe me. Well, most people don't, but now I just don't give a fuck. Now I'm just like, well, this is what I'm doing today. So... What's the point? Like I had this conversation yesterday and at the presentation, the topic was, what would a more courageous version of yourself look like? And I know a lot of people don't think they probably have the courage to do what I do, but maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. But I think there's a lot of variables for me that allow me to do what I do. Firstly, what happened to these kids happened to me. So me being around them is not abnormal at all. Like I can walk into a room full of toddlers that have all been raped and like I won't bat an eyelid. To me, it's not like it's my normal, right? For other people, that'd just be horrific. But obviously, things like babies being sacrificed, like it's pretty full on. But, you've just courage is courage. But I feel so much better doing what I do and standing up for what I do than living in the first world and having a good job. And I was just bored. I didn't have any purpose. But courage, courage is something that everybody's got, and it doesn't take much to speak up, and you've got to think about why, what are the hard conversations that you're not having, and why are you not having those conversations? Are you in fear of how somebody will think about you if you do decide to advocate for something you're passionate about? And secondly, is that person you're trying to impress or not piss off really worth it? Because the answer is probably no. Probably not.
How long has your charity been running?
7 years in January. This coming January.
So good. And it's all,
I've had over 1,050 kids now through into surgery. Youngest 4-month-old girl. Youngest boy was a 9-month-old boy. He's nearly 4 now, and he still lives with me today. He's in the country and he's in preschool. His name is Ian. He's my little prince. And I've still got all his 6 siblings. They all came to me at the same time. I was going through the family. It was the mothers selling the children. The children were at that point 9 months through to 9 years old.
So what's the rehabilitation process? So obviously, what is it that
surgical I get a call. So a lot of people ask me who I work with. I don't really work with a lot of people because the corruption over there is just rife. I've made some good friends in some child protection organisations and in the police force. My partner is a cop. We only got together about 18 months ago, but he's been amazing to support me and to help me in my work. But the rehabilitation process is basically one of these social workers or child protection advocates or a cop will call me and tell me about a case because they know that I deal specifically with the rape cases. They call it defilement in Kenya, which pisses me off. I mean, why are we giving polite words to rape? So sorry, I won't use that word. I use the R word. And then it's pretty much emergencies. So it depends on how urgent the surgery is. Sometimes we don't report because we have to go straight to theatre. That's where our donors can be instrumental in saving lives because there's no public transport there. You have to pay. There's not a quick way to get anywhere. We've got Ubers. I can call an Uber from anywhere in the world. I sat here last night in Sydney calling Ubers in Nairobi to get kids to hospital. And an Uber trip in Nairobi will be anywhere from $3 to $10. And that trip that somebody can pay for can save a kid's life. So obviously get them to hospital, get them into theatre. I do give them quite a bit of Xanax when I get them because a lot of these kids don't even know what chicken is. They've never had a pair of shoes. A lot of them have never seen a white person. So it can be really confronting. One thing I've learned along the way is that Xanax, actually, when you take too much of it, gives you a blackout. Like you're lucid, but you'll have a complete memory loss, which is very helpful, which is the result I want with these kids, because we've got to do full-on rape exams. You've got to get cannulas in their neck and in their arms. They're terrified. They've never seen a doctor. So it was really traumatic the first year that I was there, because not only is the child being traumatized, but they were being re-traumatized when I was taking them to hospital. So I do go through quite a bit of Xanax rescuing kids, because I feel better they're in that emergency situation knowing the child isn't going to remember, the admission and getting into theatre. And I keep them pretty sedated for the first few days at hospital, keep them really busy. iPads are great. Toys, games. We kind of take lollies to all the kids in the ward, because there's some hospitals I work at where there's basically baby rape wards, and it's kids that are all going into surgery, and it's like a fucking production line. It's disgusting. And then I take them home. So they stay with me because obviously they've got surgical injuries and things. I want to obviously check stitches and do all of that kind of stuff. And then it's on to my little program, which is hot salt baths. So I've got big buckets that they sit in with warm, salty water. And then the nannies come in and read them a story, make sure the child sits in the hot water. Then it's the prophylaxis. So obviously the antiretrovirals for HIV that they've got to be on for 28 days, all of their antibiotics. A lot of them have so malnourished, they need to be properly fed. Some of them have got to be tube fed. I've had a couple that have been so badly injured they've had to have a colostomy bag put on because their rectum has needed to be repaired for so long that they've had to have an external bag put on. So that makes it more, it makes it really hard on the kids. But the kids are great. They're so supportive of each other. I remember I had one child who came home. He died twice in theatre, and I got him home, and he'd never even used a toilet. He didn't even know what toilet paper was. He'd never had a shower in his life. The older boys in the house really guided him and looked after him and took him in and taught him about the hot water tap and the cold water tap, and taught him how to shower and what soap is, and taught him how to eat chicken, like a chicken wing, and it's a bone and you can't swallow it. They're fucking amazing. These kids are just amazing. I'm so proud of them.
I think you're fucking amazing. That's what I think. I'm just sitting here just going, you blow my mind. And it's literally, there's people asking that, they're saying, how can I donate? So how can they donate? Just out of on
the website. So there's lots of different ways. There's Donate Now, so you can go to Donate Now. You can set up just a once-off or a monthly payment. We use Stripe, not PayPal, because Stripe is a lot cheaper. It does automatic receipts for me and the donors with all the tax-deductible information on it. Then you can go to the Pediatric Medical Sponsorship page, where you can set up more of a set amount, which helps for all of our hospital fees. I don't use public hospitals in Kenya. They're awful. Nothing is free in Kenya. Even if you go to a public hospital in Kenya, if you don't pay on admission, you'll die. So there's no point. Why would you pay for a really awful hospital when you can pay for a private? And I've got a really great group of surgeons, who are on rotas across the hospitals. I get really good discounts, but these kids have been through so much, and I've had so many kids come to me who have been repaired, and then I've got to take the child to another hospital to do the rape surgery and the repair and reconstruction again because it's been botched. So we've got pediatric medical sponsorship, and then we've also got child education sponsorship. Now, this is a really great little program I've got set up. I've got a child education sponsorship. So you sponsor a child for a year, and you can do that on your own. You can do that with a group of friends. It's a once-off, payment for 12 months. I love my donors being really engaged with the kids. So I've got donors who've come to Kenya and met them. We do Skype calls, we WhatsApp, we do, Facebook videos, all of that kind of stuff. And I've also now set up a program where I've got school children sponsoring children. So the kids are now growing up together, little video messages to each other and showing them their homes and that kind of thing. I've got a wonderful new donor and her two gorgeous children in Singapore. And I was sponsoring one of my little boys, and they've been back and forth doing pen pals and little videos for each other and that kind of thing. I think it's really good for kids all over the world to grow up together as well. These kids in Singapore probably wouldn't have ever known what life would be like for a Kenyan kid or for a child that's been abused. So now they're learning all So that's the ways you can donate. Obviously, you can split costs if you want with other people. It's all tax deductible, and every dollar goes to the cause. I'm fucking adamant that donors' money is not wasted. I don't take a salary. I never have, and I never will. I've put about $800,000 of this into it myself, and obviously I've got daily expenses that I don't pay myself back for. So, I set this up because I'm sick of all of the corporate and charity bullshit and the corruption and the extortion. I mean, if you're not donating and you can't see the results, if you don't want to donate to my charity, that's fine. But you need to hold these guys accountable. You need to know where your money's going, and it should all be going directly to where it says they put.
Yeah, no, I mean, there is no secret. I mean, you just look at some of the organisations in this country, and you just got to look at it. The money goes into administration, into cars, into big fancy buildings and things like that. And it's very sad to see. And there's not enough.
We don't have a car. I'm going back to work myself. I'm opening a financial services publication because I want to start buying land. I'm not going to put money for child surgeries that's donated into buying property. It's my decision to buy property, and I feel responsible for that. So I'll find the money to do it. But I don't think that donor money should be sitting in bank accounts. It's donated and it's there to be used, and that's the way I operate.
That is the point. And you need to take the money and then do the things that you need to be doing with it in order to be able to help these children. And you are incredible. Yeah, exactly. You're incredible. I'm covered in head to toe in goosebumps. There's people asking questions as well, saying, do you need volunteers in Kenya? What we'd love to do. So obviously I've got a volunteers agreement. So what I want, I've had people come over, but people want to come and see what I do, and what I do is so spread out across the country. I've got no problem with people coming to visit, but I do ask that when they come, they donate $1,000, because that's going to pay for me to kind of take a lot of my time off to take them around Kenya and show them everything, to also plan activities for them to do, and to kind of coordinate that they've got a driver if I've got to go off and do things. But what I'd really, really love is anybody who's a teacher, any type of therapist, any people who are really into sport. You don't have to have a degree in sports science to come over. If you want to come and teach kids how to play cricket during holidays, if you want to come and do some English lessons or art therapy, I'm so fucking into the art therapy for these kids. Any activities and games, we need to be really active. But yeah, that's what I ask. I'm going to hike Mount Kenya. That's a little event that actually one of my donors did. She flew over from Perth to Kenya, and she hiked to the top of Mount Kenya and raised $3,000 or $4,000 for the kids. I was supposed to do it last year, but my passed away. And this year looks like it's off the cards, thanks to COVID. Yeah. But I'm hoping to get a group of people, that if 20 or 30 people come to Kenya, maybe next November in 2021, if everybody donates $1,000 to come over, and then we all do a fundraiser, it could be $20,000 or $30,000, and that can change kids, like 150 kids' lives, surgically repair them, everything. So there's lots of little things. I've got people who do running sausage sizzles who do them in Australia for us. I've got people who do raffles. I've got people who want to do mufti days at their primary school, and all kids make a gold coin donation and they have a little fete, that kind of thing. So you don't have to be donating your own money. There's so many different ways. Yeah. There's people on the side here saying, I'll coach rugby, I'll teach boxing. So awesome. I think obviously
I love it. For happy kids, and I was so sporty growing up, and honestly, without sport and without my animals, I would not fucking be alive. So I really want to get a property. I want us to be self-sustainable. We're completely plastic free. I'm in Australia. I don't buy anything that's not made in Australia. When I'm in Kenya, I only buy things made in Kenya. And the other thing that I'm doing is setting up little micro businesses. So a lot of people always ask me, what's the solution to ending child rape? Well, clearly we can't leave it up to the legal system, because it's an absolute fucking balls up, and that's a global problem. But what I've decided to do, and the most effective way to end it, is through giving women financial independence. So a lot of these women are stuck. They've never finished primary school. They've never finished high school. They can't get a job. You've got to understand there's 55 million people in Kenya, and Kenya's half the size of New South Wales. There's 50 million people that probably don't even have a house and live in complete poverty. So finding a job and having the education to sustain a job is virtually impossible. So what I'm doing is I'm setting up little micro businesses, and I've started doing it. We're giving women, chickens and eggs, and they start off with a few chickens, and then they start growing their business, and they end up becoming wholesalers and selling chickens and eggs every day, which is a very successful little business. And we teach them about animal rights and welfare. We teach them about feeding the chickens and looking after them and giving them grain and looking after the well-being of animals and protecting animals and giving them a good life. And then we've got these beautiful bags and leather goods that we're going to get women trained on sewing machines. I'm an online store on the site. So then these women fleeing domestic violence will come into my program, be educated and supported. Any goods that they make in the 6 months that they're with us training will be sold online. And at the end of the 6 months or the 12 months, all of their income from the time they've been with us will go to them. Plus they'll have all of the equipment to set up their own business, and they can take their existing clients with them. So it's going to give them some capital, and it's going to get them the fuck out of these slums where these men are raping their kids.
Oh, I love it. That is a fucking plan. That is a plan. That's an epic plan. Yeah. And
donating doesn't have to be for surgery. Donating can be to setting up these micro businesses. Like to buy, maybe 10 chickens and a couple of eggs and build a little chicken hut, probably looking at about $150 Australian to set it up. Yeah. And that's enough that I can take that to a woman and get it going. But, what I'd love to do is a massive fundraiser to buy property. If we can get, 20,000 or 30,000 Aussie dollars, I can buy 3 or 4 acres of land with that in one of the best parts of Kenya. We can start growing all our own vegetables. We can do a school feeding program, set up the domestic violence training centre with the workshops, get the people to come and educate them. You guys got skills, can come to Kenya for a month, live with these women and teach them how to do art, make jewelry, that kind of thing. Anything that they can sell and run as a business.
Do you get a lot of shit from the people in Kenya? Do you get attacked? Do you get
yeah. I had a ticket on my head for about 2 years there. I had to leave Nairobi, and very quickly. I've been bashed. I've been illegally arrested. I had a dislocated jaw that actually just got put back in. Had been out for nearly a year, over a year. I had a huge gash, but that was from another incident. And then I've been fractured skull. Yeah, I've been illegally arrested so many times. The Australian government's never come to help me. The Australian ambassador at the time over there has never helped me. Pretty much left to my own. But look, going in, I was pretty naive at the start. I didn't really know what I was getting. I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't understand the level of corruption. I didn't understand how fucking evil people can be. And it was all women. It was all women trying to take me out and get me out of the country, because I was there. The children that I help and want to rehabilitate and make a better life for, these women sell those children, or they promote them to tourists and they show them how sick and needy the children are, so that the white tourists come in and give these women all of this money. The white tourist assumes that child's going to get surgery and get better, but it never does. The women put the money in their pocket and sell the story to the next person. So when I moved there, I went in and said, well, this isn't fucking happening. I'm going to help these kids. And what I was doing was crippling their businesses.
Of course.
So they came after me. They came after me fucking hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
I saw this. I saw this firsthand in Thailand.
I was accused of having Western men over to rape children in court. They'd paid off the judge. Like, the corruption's insane. And we left Nairobi. And I still operate in Nairobi. I've still got live cases there. I've got a beautiful little girl who's got a baby who's a year old tomorrow. She was raped by a military police officer. So I've got a couple of cases there. I've got another case of a gorgeous little girl. She's just turned 3. She's had a colostomy bag put on after rape, and she's still got severe injuries. So we've had some great donors donating for her 5th and final surgery, and the surgeon was flying over from Canada with his surgical to repair her, and COVID hit. So she's still she's still incontinent, and we're waiting obviously for the surgeon to rebook so we can get Emily into her last surgery. But yeah.
Listen, Genevieve, I've got to wrap this up, and I could sit here and talk for hours. Like, literally, you are blowing my mind, and I would love to have you back. When you actually eventually get back there. Yeah, we want to stick with you on your journey, and we'd love to hear like how you're going and support you in any way we possibly can. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart. I know a lot of our followers are very passionate about human trafficking, child sex trafficking, and child abuse.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is incredible. I want to say a huge thank you on behalf of me and everybody else out there. Just thank you for putting yourself out there. Thank you for actually doing something about it and being so fucking brave. You are actually my definition of a hero.
I can't not. It's about time we all stand up for this. Like, this is bullshit. The economic toll on society for not standing up for this is just an absolute joke. It's time we do it, and it's everyone's going to feel better when we do. Trust me, our kids are going to be safer. 100%. We're going to be safer, and our kids are going to be safer.
All right, guys, listen.
Thank you so much for having
me. Please, can you please donate if you possibly can? I noticed that I've put more W's than I should have in that website thing that's scrolling across the bottom. It is www.gbvtrust.com. If you can spare anything, please do that. I don't usually do this on these kind of interviews, but look, what this woman is doing is absolutely incredible. If you can do anything, please do it. Thank you for joining us, Genevieve, and we'll speak to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, sweetheart. Thank you.